hear each other. Decision-making on the elder team. The elder team shall seek the leading of the Holy Spirit in all matters of spiritual and ministerial importance, striving for consensus and unity in all decisions, in the spirit of Philippians 2:2-8. Action without meeting. Any action required or permitted to be taken by the elder team may be taken without a meeting and with the same force and effect as a unanimous vote of the elder team, if all members of the elder team consent in writing to the action. And finally, minutes. Minutes of elder team meetings shall be recorded and taken by an appointed elder who shall have custody thereof and be responsible for circulating copies to the elders in a timely manner. At the start of each elder meeting, the appointed elder shall obtain unanimous consent that the minutes from the previous meeting be approved as distributed. And then a final article to finish up what we have today, Article 5, Ministry Teams. And this is a short one. The elder team will oversee all ministry teams and approve any new ministries as needed. A stewardship team shall always be in place to oversee management of church funds. So those are the articles that we want to present today. Are we out of time for question and answer, or should we try that? Okay. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, either I or any elders present or the committee can answer, hopefully. Yes. Yeah, so the question was, with new laws potentially coming down about redefining marriage, if we've discussed what if there's some kind of litigation against the leadership of our church for that reason. And because we do at Greenmonte believe in the biblical traditional view of marriage as between a man and a woman, one man and one woman. So that is actually a big part of why we're incorporating, and that will be addressed not so much in the bylaws, but more in the Constitution, which we will be writing after the bylaws. The bylaws are more of a skeleton of how we operate as a church, and the Constitution, which we'll work on after this, will contain not only our statement of faith, but any statement that the elders choose to write on marriage and sexuality, and on anything else. And so that is declaring our beliefs as a church from the get-go, and then also anyone who comes on as a member is acknowledging our statements on those issues. And so I think more of the prior disclosure that we need and the protection is going to come through that part of our Constitution.
I think for us, the incorporation does provide some legal protection. And the challenge for us right now, where we need this protection, is because we as a local church fellowship within the Virginia Mennonite Conference take a biblical traditional view on marriage. The wider church umbrella, Mennonite Church USA, has moved the opposite direction this past year in a very formal way. So if we were to make a statement and not do a same gender marriage, we could at this point face some challenges legally, because the organization that we have our tax exempt status through, the Mennonite Church USA, is stating one set of beliefs that we are, by all appearances, adhering to, while at the same time we are taking a different position. So it would be potentially a legal challenge for us. So this would give us some more legal protections as we clarify some of those statements away from Mennonite Church USA, if that's helpful.
So after we take care of bylaws, Constitution, Articles of Incorporation, there is paperwork that's required to be filed with the state of Virginia, with the Virginia Incorporation Commission, and that we will definitely need help from our lawyer, who we have already met with once to review some drafts of our bylaws. So paperwork, a lot of paperwork will come after this, and then waiting on the state of Virginia to approve our incorporation, and then once that's approved, making some changes in paperwork and insurance policies probably, and things like that. And then after that, it will just be yearly paperwork that has to be filed to maintain our incorporation with the state, and a lawyer will also need to help us with that, but hopefully that will just be a minimal yearly thing. Yeah. Yeah, good question. Brian asked if this is the completion of the bylaws, or if there are additional sections coming. There are additional sections coming. We still have Article 6, Officers of the Church, which is finished in committee, needs to go to elders. Article 7, Financial Matters, we're in discussion with the stewardship team. Article 8, Indemnification. Article 9, Dissolution of Assets, and Article 10, Amendments. And then hopefully that will complete the bylaws. So Article 8, 9, and 10 have passed through committee, and they're short articles. And so we're hoping that we're nearing the end of kind of big, heavy stuff.
We want to be available to take more questions. I know that we have our child care workers in the nursery. We want to also be sensitive to them. Maybe we could take one more question, then we could stay around and be available for any additional questions that you might have. Is there another question?
Under the pastoral qualifications, where it says the pastor must meet denominational requirements, is that based on what, like Virginia Mennonite, or where does that come from, the denominational requirements?
That's a great question. Pastors who are credentialed through the Virginia Mennonite Conference, such as myself, have to go through a process of writing, defending theology and doctrine, and making sure that it is in agreement with the theology of Virginia Mennonite Conference. So there's a vetting process that has happened, and that all pastors, clergy, must agree to go and be a part of. So, Brian. So your question is, do we need to make a clarification about the qualifications for clergy? Gotcha. Yep. Yep. Would that be something that we flesh out in the Constitution more clearly, or?
Yeah, and I mean, we can talk about if we need to clarify that. I know that I think, yeah, I think that's a good point. We could take note of that and talk about if that needs to be clarified. There are certain ways that our bylaws would need to be changed anyway if certain things happen in different denominational groups. So, but I think that's a good point, and we can definitely take that into account and see if maybe that's a point that needs to be clarified and fleshed out more.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So so Sharon's question is, she had understood that we had already dissolved our relationship with Mennonite Church USA. A few years ago, we took a vote among our membership to dissolve our membership of giving and supporting Mennonite Church USA directly as a church. People are still free to do that, and all of the institutions of MCUSA. That was a largely symbolic move on our part. So formally, our tax-exempt status in all of the churches in America that are part of different conferences, all of our tax-exempt status is held by Mennonite Church USA. So we had tried to work with our conference, Virginia Mennonite Conference, to see if we could disconnect from Mennonite Church USA formally and only hold a local relationship